Hello, hello, hello. Happy Monday, everyone. Welcome to another Monday night podcast. This is Real Talk with Frank and Vanessa. I am so happy to see anyone that's under the sound of my voice that's on here. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much for joining in with me on this podcast tonight. It's a truly a blessing. For you to support this podcast. It's truly a blessing for you to come on here each and every time just to hear the word of God and what God is speaking on tonight. At this time, as I allow Facebook to draw me in the audience, as always, I ask you to do the same thing. Just share the podcast, like the podcast. Tag someone in, let them know that I am on tonight to bring a message from God. So, with that being said, as I allow Facebook to draw me in the audience, I'm going to go ahead myself and start to share this podcast out. I pray everyone stayed hydrated. Well, it's staying hydrated in this hot weather. It is hot outside. But thank God that we're able to enjoy this weather. Um, I pray that anyone that is grieving, I pray that they always know that God is not far. He's always close to the brokenhearted. So just want to give words of encouragement on that. Thank you, Charlene, for joining in with us tonight. I appreciate you so much. I would like to thank my husband for tagging out tagging the people into the podcast and sharing this podcast out for me on tonight. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. I see my beautiful daughter on here, Zizi. She says, "Good evening, everyone." Miss Gwen, thank you, thank you, thank you. Um, Zizi said, "Good evening, y'all." Miss Gwen said, "Good evening, my dear family. Good to see you on tonight." I'm glad to see you on here too, Miss Gwen, as well, with us tonight. It's like I said, it's truly a blessing to see each and every one of you who's under the sound of my voice on tonight. I appreciate each and every one of you all joining in with me on this podcast. I pray, like I said, it is hot outside. I think it's like 93 degrees. That everybody is staying well hydrated and staying cool in this weather. But like I said, thank God we are here. Okay, Charlene said, "Tell him I said hello." Um, I think he could see that comment, Charlene, but I definitely will tell him that you said hello. Um, I just thank God on tonight for allowing me to still push on. I thank God on tonight for just allowing me to be used by Him because we know when God does things, God is always strategic. So I just thank God for whatever He's doing with all of us on this podcast tonight because we know that if it wasn't for God on our side, none of us knows where we would be. But glory be to God that God knows where we are. So on tonight, I have a message. It says, recognizing the end of an assignment. That is so important that we have to recognize. Charlene, he says, hello. Let me put the comment up. He said, hello, Charlene Rainey. He loves you. Miss Gwen said, good evening, man of God. Praying for you as always. Um, thank you, thank you, thank you. Kalia, thank you so much for joining in with us on tonight. I appreciate you for getting on this podcast with me. So as I came up with this topic, it says recognizing the end of an assignment. The way I came up with this topic is because I was sitting there, and as I was, I heard a message. And as I was listening to this message, I said sometimes we have to recognize when that particular assignment that God has us on is up. Sometimes we have to recognize when the place that we've been in for so long that's no longer producing peace. Sometimes God is saying your time is up. Recognizing that sometimes we can work the same job for years and years and years, and it feels like nothing is changing. Sometimes we feel that way because God is saying your assignment is come to an end. And the reason why how I came to this title, sometimes we find ourselves in dead ends. Sometimes we find ourselves where we feel like we're trapped in situations and we're trapped in circumstances. And God is saying you have to recognize that's the end of your assignment. It's just like a season. The season changes whether we like it or not. When summer has completed its season, that's the end of summer. When winter has completed its season, that's the end of winter. And we have to recognize that just like the seasons change, situation and circumstances, they change as well. We have to recognize the end of the assignment. And sometimes, don't get me wrong, it's almost heartbreaking when you've been somewhere for so long and it looks like things have come to an end. But on tonight, I want you to trust God, that God has never put a period behind your assignment, and that he's not gonna show you something different. So as I was thinking about this message on today, I began to thank God that some things had to end. I began to thank God that some things had to be torn down in order for him to build things back up. I began to thank God that I no longer have to complete that assignment where I watched a lot of things get torn down. And I didn't like it. But I thank God that assignment was up. See, sometimes we don't recognize that we're in a season. And whatever season God allows us to be in, we don't know what all comes with that season. It's just like, for instance, with summer. In the summertime, honestly, you could have rain, sleet, hail, or snow. This is Chicago. All we know is that the season is summer, but we don't realize everything that may come with the summertime. So as I begin to just read, I was reading about in 1 Kings 19, where Elijah, he had just defeated Jezebel's army. So that was Elijah's assignment at that time, where he had, Jezebel, they were serving the false gods. And what Elijah told them is that he betted on God that God would be the person that would be standing, that their gods would not be able to outperform his God. And what happened was God showed himself faithful on Elijah's behalf. So what happens is next, in 1 Kings 19, I'm going to read it to you. It says, when Elijah got home, it says when Ahab got home, he told Jezebel everything Elijah had done, including the way he had killed all the prophets of Baal. So Jezebel sent a message to Elijah and said, may the gods strike me and even kill me if by this time tomorrow I have not killed you just as you've killed them. So, y'all, Elijah, God had just shown himself faithful on Elijah's behalf. And what happens is Ahab goes home to tell his wife exactly what happened with Elijah. Now, Jezebel, she sends a word to Elijah telling him basically, okay, I heard everything you did. I heard how you killed the false gods. And what I want you to do is you better try to do the same thing to me. And if you don't by this time, I'm going to kill you like your God killed them, kill them. So Jezebel sends a message to Elijah, letting him know that I've heard all the things that God has done on your behalf. And I heard how, you were a part of what God was doing. So Jezebel, basically what she does is she threatens Elijah and tells him what she's going to do to him. Now, y'all check this out. Elijah was on an assignment from God. And Elijah was proving that God is not going to fail him. And so what happens is after Elijah, God proves that what Elijah said is to be true. Jezebel sends a message to him. Now, I'm going to read the second part. It says, Elijah was afraid and fled for his life. He went to Beersheba, a town in Judah, and he left his servants there. Then he went on alone in the wilderness. So Elijah now is running. He runs into the wilderness, traveling all day. He sits down under a solitary broom tree, and he prays that he might die. He says, I have had enough, Lord. He said, take my life, for I am no better than the ancestors who have already died. Now, y'all check this out. Check this out. Elijah, God had just shown himself strong on Elijah's behalf. Elijah gets a message from Jezebel. She's threatening his life. Elijah runs. So the first thing I would probably do is I probably would ask the question, why is Elijah running when God just shown himself strong on Elijah's behalf? And as I was asking that question, because I was reading 1 Kings 19, as I was asking this question about why did Elijah run, the first thing God said to me was, you got to recognize the end of an assignment. Sometimes God will allow you to run when the assignment is over, even if it means, because see, sometimes we don't realize that the assignment is already over and we'll stay over our time, even if it means that God has to force you to leave the assignment. So what happens is when she sends this word, Elijah flees and he runs into the wilderness. Elijah is stressed out now. And as he runs, he starts to tell God, like, listen, God, just take my life. I'm tired. But Elijah has already been in battle with Ahab and Jezebel. Sometimes God wants you to rest because the assignment is over. God is saying you have completed your assignment. God understands that there's going to be a time when we tap out. And when we tap out, that's when God will tap in. So as I begin to look at this story, I begin to understand Elijah's assignment was up. Sometimes leaving an assignment doesn't feel good, but God knows when you should leave and why you should leave. And this is the thing, y'all. Let me tell you something. God knows how to take care of you when you have tapped out. And so as I began to look, I began to say, sometimes you have to recognize that everything has to come to an end. We find ourselves sometimes in life where everything was working for our good. And all of a sudden, it seems like chaos starts to happen. And sometimes we want to say and we want to fix the chaos that we're in when God is saying the assignment is up. As I was having a conversation with somebody, I said, you know what? Just like Elijah, this lady had threatened Elijah's life. Thank God the assignment ended, because sometimes when you stay in an assignment too long, wrestling with things that God has told you to move on from, sometimes we don't realize that your life really is at stake. You know, I looked at this thing and I says, what if Elijah would have stayed and fought back with Jezebel? There's no telling how this story would have ended. So I just thank God on tonight that I recognize that there's a time when your assignment is going to end, but I also recognize that it may not feel comfortable. The way you may have to exit your assignment, it may not feel comfortable to you, but I tell you this, I want you all to be encouraged and know that God knows how to take care of you even when you're in the wilderness. Y'all catch that? So you say to yourself, God, I just don't know. I'm tired. I just want to throw in the towel. I'm tired of fighting. I need some rest. God will take care of you just when you think it's over, just when you feel like you want to give up, just when you feel like you want to throw in the towel. Y'all, we got to get to the point where we trust God. Even when it looks like we running in the wilderness, knowing that the same God that took care of me then is the same God that's going to take care of me now. The same God that took care of me in my happy days are the same God that's going to take care of me when I'm down. The same God that looked after me when I had everything is the same God that's going to walk with me when I have nothing. Trusting God and knowing that God is never going to leave us. He's never going to forsake us. Sometimes you don't realize that in Psalms 46, God says, God is our refuge and our strength, a ever-present help in a time of trouble. God will be a present help. Latanya, thank you so much for joining in a time of trouble. Y'all, I just want to encourage each and every person on just tonight. I've been looking at some things. 2025, the ending of 2025 was very rocky. Coming into 2026, it looked like it was rocky too. But I had to realize that the season that I was in, it could not last forever. The season that I was in, it had to change. Now, the season that I was in, I didn't know everything that the season was inside of the season. But one thing I do know that is when I look back over my life, I can say I thank God that if God hadn't have been there with me, I don't know how I would have made it out. So I just thank God on tonight. Recognize the end of an assignment, y'all. I was looking at this thing and I said, some people trying to hold on to jobs that's literally about to take them out, just like Elijah. But God is saying, even if I have to let you hear something to make you move. See, sometimes we don't want to hear something that's going to make us move. Sometimes we so comfortable in the place that we've been for so long. And I can say it for myself. Sometimes you're so comfortable in the place that you've been for so long that you won't move unless God allows you to hear something that's going to push you further. See, sometimes we don't realize the reason we have to hear something is because it's going to move us further to where God wants us to be. So y'all, I was reading this story and I just began to look back over my life and I said, I thank God that He allows me to recognize the end of an assignment. No matter how it looks when I leave the assignment, I still am going to trust God. No matter how it looks when I have to leave the job, I'm still going to trust God. No matter how it looks when I have to leave the place that I'm comfortable with, I'm still going to trust God, because just like Elijah ran in the wilderness. Elijah wanted to throw in the towel. Elijah wanted to give up. But what happened was God sent an angel to minister to Elijah. Y'all, on tonight, I just want to tell y'all, I know that it's some rough times that we see. It's some rough times that people are going through. I see people are losing people left and right. I see people are grieving within themselves. I see people are just going through. But I want you to know that when you can rejoice because the assignment has ended, God will show you that I am your strength. I am your refuge. And I am a very present help in a time of trouble. When you can rejoice, you know what? One thing I'm learning to rejoice about is this. If I can rejoice when God brings me out, I'm going to show enough rejoice while God has me in. Because that's not the first situation that I've been in that God has brought me out. So I'm learning that I got to rejoice in my season. I got to rejoice out of my season. I got to rejoice when I'm going through. I got to rejoice when I'm coming out. I got to rejoice when I'm down. I got to rejoice when I'm up, knowing that God is going to bring me through whatever he allows me to go through. You know, David said it best. You can go through the shadow of death. David says, come through. You just don't stay at the end. Come through the situation and circumstances. So as I was reading that, y'all, I just thank God. Like I said, I just want to encourage y'all on tonight that, like I said, I've seen some things that had to be torn all the way down in order for God to build it back up. And as God began to show me, he says certain things in your season, it has to happen. You know, before the summer can come, we have to have spring, winter, and fall. Before a flower can start to bloom, we have to have spring, winter, and fall. So God is saying some things just have to happen, and we might as well just rejoice while we're going through. Y'all, I thank God on tonight. That God allows us to go through an assignment, but God also tells you that trouble doesn't last always. So you won't have to stay in the same place forever. God allows us to go through, but he also allows us to recognize that there's a time that we must end that assignment. And so as I began to look at this thing, at first I was like, okay, why is Elijah running when God just showed himself strong on Elijah's behalf? But I also had to recognize Elijah's assignment was up. And sometimes, let me tell you this, don't get mad because you didn't stay in the assignment to try to fight back. See, sometimes God is saying that assignment is up. I don't care what they said to you. What I need you to do is I need you to leave that place. Because when you leave that place, I can minister to you in another place. And I was looking, I said, but God, as God allowed Elijah to go, even though Elijah was stressed out, God still ministered to Elijah even in the wilderness. See, God will find you wherever he sends you. See, sometimes we think we just running by coincidence. We running, but God knows how to run and locate us right where we are. So y'all, I just thank you all on tonight. I thank each and every one of you all on tonight for coming in. Y'all, I'm sweating like a pig. I thank each and every one of you all for coming in with me on tonight. I pray that everybody stays cool in this weather. I want everybody to have a happy 4th of July. Stay safe. Stay safe, y'all. Stay safe. But enjoy yourself. Enjoy yourself. It's it's on a Saturday, so it's a weekend. So we have a 3-day weekend. That's good. I plan on enjoying myself. I plan on relaxing. I got 3 days off. That's a blessing. I just want everybody to. I wasn't gonna be on here for long tonight anyway. I just want to come on and just give you all just a little short message on tonight. Tell you all to stay hydrated. I love you, each and every one of you all. I thank each and every one of you all for joining in. I think my husband, he probably will come back soon, or if not, I know he's gonna come. He was telling me about this message that God was giving him. So he'll probably jump on here one day. I'm not sure what day he'll jump on here or what day he'll join me back on the podcast. But we do love each and every one of you all. We do appreciate each and every one of you all for jumping in. I know that God has more for each and every one of us. God has more to come for this podcast. It's just working through what you have to work through until God tells you what's next. So Ms. Gwen said, thank you for the encouragement. It's always needed. Thank you, Ms. Gwen, so much. I appreciate each and every one of you all. Ms. Gwen, you are a big encouragement to me, Charlene, Latanya, my daughter, my husband. Every time I see each and every one of you all that gets on here with me, that encourages me to keep going. That encourages me that my assignment is not up yet. Ms. Gwen, thank you. I appreciate you so much. Ms. Gwen said, just hang in there. I will, Ms. Gwen. I will hang in there. I promise you I will. I know that God is not finished with us. I know that God is not finished with me, so I am gonna hang in there. And just like Ms. Gwen say, that is so encouraging because, you know, I as I was studying this message today at work, I look at myself and I can kind of relate to Elijah. I can kind of relate to Elijah, that Elijah had did all this, and God had proven himself to be strong on Elijah's behalf, but Elijah also got tired. Tasha, thank you so much for joining in. Elijah also got tired. So I kind of felt myself, I felt Elijah in so many ways, because it's like, God, I'm tired. And you know, as Elijah expressed to God, he says, listen, he says, look, I'm tired. He says, I'm about to throw in the towel. But isn't it funny, just when you want to throw in the towel, God will come and give you the words to keep you going. God will come and he will send someone to give you the words to keep you moving along. So Ms. Gwen, thank you so much. You encouraged me so much. Ms. Gwen says it's going to work out for your good. I believe that. I trust God. I'm standing on God's word. I know that God didn't bring me this far to leave me right here. And if God brought me this far, I know that if he's saying that this assignment is up, God has something bigger. I believe that. I don't believe that God will bring you this far just to leave you. So I just thank each and every one of you all on tonight. Tasha, thank you for joining in with me on tonight. I appreciate you hopping in on this podcast. Ms. Gwen said that's when a breakthrough will come. Thank you, Ms. Gwen. Thank you. I appreciate the encouraging words. Your words mean so much. They motivate me just to keep going. Each and every one of you all, I promise, it's motivation to keep going. So with that being said, no Tweety on tonight. I think she coming, but Tweety's probably coming a little bit later. I'm gonna have to just get her when she's over here pop up so she could just say hey to you all and whatever else Tweety gonna say. So when she comes over here one day, I'm just gonna let her get on here so she could talk to her audience and write her notes and give a shout out and birthday shout outs and everything else that Tweety does. But I just appreciate each and every one of you all. With that being said, once again, I want you all to enjoy your holiday, your 4th of July holiday. Stay cool, enjoy yourself, but be safe at the same time. With that being said, I love each and every one of you all. Okay, Ms. Gwen, I sure will tell Tweety you said hello. I'm gonna tell Tweety that she gotta come on here and talk to her audience for a little bit. She might, but I'm gonna see what Tweety say. So with that being said, I thank and appreciate each and every one of you all who joins in with me on this podcast. I love each and every one of you all from the bottom of my heart, and I thank you all so much for always being supportive of this podcast, always coming on, all the encouraging words, all the messengers that Ms. Gwen sends. Thank you. It's appreciated. I appreciate each and every one of you all. With that being said, you all enjoy the rest of your day and you be blessed. Thank you.